We have a breaking news update regarding the Charlie Kirk shooting. Accused assassin Tyler Robinson now set to appear in court on October 30th. I'm going to share what the judge had to say here. Pretty interesting stuff. After this, we'll talk about the Michigan shooter, what the press secretary for Donald Trump is saying versus what they said about Charlie Kirk shooter, which is very interesting because we got to be very impeccable with how we cover all of this. It's such a heated time of violent rhetoric. And I think we owe it to all of Americans to try to calm this conversation down a notch. So I truly mean what I'm saying. Patriot Oasis posted this. They already call him Charlie Kirk's assassin. I mean, alleged, folks. We have to be fair here. We shared this video yesterday that's gone very viral on our page. Several hundred new subscribers. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, where we cover the different conspiracy theories. There's a lot of credible people on the left and on the right that are saying that the path that the bullet took, that unfortunately took Charlie Kirk's life, is kind of the exact opposite of where they claim Tyler Robinson would have been if he did the shooting. So many questions that need to be answered. And Candace Owens, as we've been covering, posted that Tyler is not suicidal, which is interesting because it's that idea that are they going to try to take him out? I mean, it's a wild stuff, but people, I think more people than not believe that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't suicidal when he offed himself in a prison before he could testify. Will that happen to Tyler Robinson? Well, the judge here says Tyler's going to be in court. We're going to make sure that this thing is done right.
They are inherently due because they are human beings. Let me be clear. I will not put my finger on the scale of justice. These proceedings will be open to the public, conducted in accordance with the law, and handled with diligence and competence to ensure that justice is never compromised. It is the standing order of this court that Mr. Robinson shall be allowed to appear in person so he can fully engage with his attorneys and participate in these legal proceedings. Counsel, regardless of who is watching, whether it is the nation or a single individual, we must fulfill our roles with integrity, civility, and diligence. I encourage each of you to give your very best to this case. Neither Mr. Robinson nor the people of Utah deserve anything less than the fair and impartial administration of justice.
Boy. Now, doesn't that sound like a breath of fresh air?
In regards to the next...
So then he goes in and says that the next hearing will be October 30th. Hallows Eve, right? Is that the day? What's it? I'm from New England. We called it Cabbage Night. You know, boy, just terror. You know, you get, was it shaving cream and just throw it at people? Cabbage Night? What is that even? Either way, Day of the Dead, whatever you want to call it, be very interesting to see Tyler Robinson in court. We don't really know. We don't know much. We don't, I mean, sources say that he's not cooperating, that he maintains his innocence. It would be a very quick open shut case if he says, you know what, I did it. Here's the proof, X, Y, and Z. He can show it all. But nobody believes the Discord messages. They don't sound like they were written by a 22-year-old. Nobody believes that the note existed, but it's been destroyed. People just don't buy this. They don't buy it. And because of all that, here we have the judge, which should be taken for granted, but it's not, saying, listen, we're going to make this thing as fair as possible. We need no shadow of a doubt when we come to the conclusion of what went down. And I think that's how it should always be. But in today's world, you know, you just don't know. You just don't know sometimes. So again, we'll have all of your updates. Make sure to subscribe. What's very interesting about this case, right? As soon as this shooting happened, I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. I just want it to be fair. I want it to be fair, right? I'm a progressive free speech advocate. I, by all means, wouldn't call myself centrist, but I think in the idea that I want to be able to talk to people that have different ideologies and not just assume someone's a bad person, right? Because they think differently than I am. That's the world I want to live in. That's why my audience is across the political spectrum. We have tons of people on the right and on the left. You know, there's plenty of people that get triggered and don't follow us because maybe they don't like the opinions I'm going to share, but I respect and cherish those that actually can listen to an opinion that might be different than theirs. And I say all of that because As soon as it came out that Tyler Robinson was the alleged shooter, everyone started pointing fingers from the top down. The president, the vice president, the governor of Utah. He's got left-leaning ideologies. I fought with my own family over this because it's like, what left-leaning ideology are you talking about? And what a dangerous world if we're going to point fingers at a complete madman doing this on behalf of half the country. And I'm going to say the same about this sad story that happened over the weekend. Michigan church shooting. Thomas Sanford served in Iraq. He drove his truck, which had the American flags up, into a Mormon church, which is the least American thing you could do. Clearly, this guy's got psychological issues. Whether that's from serving in Iraq, I have no idea. We have no idea. But it's important to show, if this is the game people want to play where they point fingers, that this was a Trump supporter. Now, I don't think all Trump supporters are bad. Not at all. I think the 99+% aren't bad at all. I'm not the one pointing the fingers. But let me tell you this right now. If the Michigan church shooting suspect was wearing a Kamala shirt, do you not think people would lose their mind? And this is a big deal because you've got Trump's administration now saying they're going to sign into law these hate speech crimes, labeling left-leaning groups as domestic terrorists, which, by the way, is insanity. But that's what they plan to do. And when the shooter is someone who supported the president, not a word. Listen to spineless Caroline Leavitt described the situation.
From what I understand, based on my conversations with the FBI director, all they know right now is this was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith. And they are trying to understand more about this, how premeditated it was, how much planning went into it, whether he left a note. All of those questions have yet to be answered, but certainly will be answered by the FBI.
So there it is. And again, I'm not playing this game where we immediately point fingers. But I will say the comment section is they're showing signs from this person's house that had a Trump Vance sign. So clearly supporting the president. Here, again, the photo we already shared, wearing a Trump shirt. Again, this is probably someone with mental illness, radicalized in whatever way he was. The only thing he has in common with the shooter from several weeks ago is it's another deranged white man that, was somehow radicalized. I don't know what else to say. And it shouldn't be politicized any further than that. We should be using funds from the CDC to look into the violence that's being activated. It's a mental health issue. Now, this issue is exacerbated by having weapons, military-grade weapons. But at the same time, whether he had a gun or not, you can just plow your truck into a church. It's not okay. It's not okay. And this is, I talk about, universal health care because people need to be able to get help. We need to normalize the conversation of getting people help. My father was a Vietnam vet. What happened in Iraq that could have led to somebody having their wires crossed? Or could it have been from before then? I have no idea. We'll continue to share this story as more is known. Here are the updates with this bizarre trial happening with James Comey. He's been indicted in a grand jury. Nate, the lawyer, says it hurts me to say this, but I call it like I see it. The James Comey 1.5-page indictment is bullshit. Trump's new U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan is a DEI hire. No experience, never prosecuted a case, unqualified. You know it's true, and when the case is tossed, don't be surprised. By the way, I hate how he says it hurts me to say this. Why does it hurt you to say it? Call it out. Of course it's a DEI hire. It's just the diversity that Trump's looking for is a hot young lawyer. That's what he's looking for. Here's a hot older lawyer, Megyn Kelly, calling it out too.
Lindsay Halligan is 36 years old, seems like a very nice lady, but in no world would normally be getting appointed as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Speaking of Ozempic-infested documents, that's what her resume is when it comes to the qualifications for this particular job. With all due respect, I'm sure she's a good lawyer. She worked for President Trump personally. That's how he knows her. But I'm just going to say this person's elevation to this level of a post is kind of laughable. It never would happen under normal circumstances. I believe she was put there because she's loyal to Trump and she's probably a decent lawyer.
should we have that be the qualification, whether you're loyal to the president? Of course, the answer is no. Of course it's no. And when the case is thrown out, it's gonna weaken. I mean, the Department of Justice usually has a very high batting average with cases. We'll see how it plays out. The White House has clapped back at a critical Instagram post by Ariana Grande. She shared this post. I want to check in with Trump voters. One question. It's been 250 days. Now that immigrants have been violently torn from their families and communities have been destroyed. Now that trans people have been blamed for virtually everything and live in fear. Now that free speech is on the brink of collapse. Has your life gotten better? Have your groceries gotten cheaper? Has your health insurance premium gone down? Has your work-life balance improved? And by the way, when people see the new ballroom being built, regardless of who's funding the ballroom, when they see that opulence, right, the Mar-a-Lago patio that's on the Rose Garden, when they see that and they can't afford beef, steaks at Costco were $125 yesterday. $125. Now, normally they're selling in bulk. Normally they're $60, $70, but it's insanity out there. Coffee selling for $25. So it does beg the question, how far can the woke culture war, and I say woke because there's a wokeness on both sides, right? There's a cancel culture on both sides. The extremes on both sides want to make everything cultural, everything. And it's not. It's really all economic. How does your wallet feel? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel like you're thriving in this economy? Or does it feel like people are starting to go out to Applebee's a little bit less because you don't know what's happening? And that's of course, a sign of a recession and hopefully not more to come. Here's what the spokesperson for the White House had to say. Save your tears, Ariana, because President Trump's actions ended Joe Biden's inflation crisis and are bringing in trillions in new investments. All right, folks, it's up to you, the audience, to decide if that's true or not. You will be finding out shortly. We're in the find out stage with the tariff wars, how that will all go down. And here's our final bizarre, insane story. Donald Trump posted this about Zohran Mamdani. He's the Democratic candidate for the upcoming mayoral race in New York City, won in a landslide over Cuomo, and Eric Adams, the sitting mayor, just dropped out of the race. Donald Trump says self-proclaimed New York City communist, he's not a proclaimed communist, Zohran Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen to our great Republican Party. He's going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in the history of our once great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it, so what's the point of voting for him? The ideology has failed always for thousands of years. It will fall again, and that's guaranteed. President Donald J. Trump. Tennessee Holler responds, if Trump is openly planning to withhold federal funds from New York over anti-Zohran politics, at what point do New Yorkers who put in far more than they take out get to stop paying federal taxes? Yeah, the idea that Trump holds the check of the money is ridiculous because New York State, a very wealthy state, pays in more to their federal taxes than they get back. And by that I mean if they had a wall around them and created their own country, the country of New York, they would thrive. Same with California. There's states like Oklahoma and several others that are like lecherous in the sense that they take more federal money than they give back. I'm okay with that. That's how a social democracy works. Sometimes you pay a little bit so that the other person doesn't flounder. You know, in late stage capitalism, it's the rich get rich and the poor get poor. The only way to battle that is to make sure fairly your tax dollars go to benefits like helping out, people that need some food stamps or, getting breakfast before kids go to school so they're not hungry. What's the point of going to school on an empty stomach? Doesn't that sound horrible? In any society, if you had the abundance, wouldn't you want to give to that, right? So it's absolutely ridiculous. I think the best thing the Democratic Party can do is, and they're not doing this right now, but take folks like Zohran Mamdani, understand what they're saying. Why is their message so popular? Eric Adams is a black mayor, and the African-American population in New York is overwhelmingly in support of Zohran Mamdani, an immigrant so it just goes to show it's not a culture war issue. It's not an issue where people are supporting him for any reason other than they think the policies could help. And the idea that he's, communist is laughable, as Donald Trump literally just had the federal government buy a stake in Oracle. So don't bring this it's communist idea to me. I don't even think people understand what these words mean. Our last story of the day, here's a moment where, and you want to talk about free speech being under attack. Here's a guy right here who yells, "Fuck Trump," That's what he yells. After he yells it, he drops his phone and he goes back to pick it up. And these ICE officers run after him. It's pretty hilarious if you actually ask me. So he says, fuck Trump, and then he starts to go away. You see right here, hold on, right here it comes, right there, his cell phone falls out. And he's like, oh shoot. So he goes back for his cell phone. The ICE officials laugh at him for going back for his cell phone, and then they start chasing after him. One guy chases out, and one guy yells, get him. Now at this point, it's all but certain the guy's going to get caught. You know, a bike is fast once you're pedaling, but if you're running next to your bike, clearly you're not going to make it. But in this beautiful moment, he gets away. Isn't that fun to watch? And the agents, and everyone laughs at the agents. These are, in some part, buffoons that were given all these signing bonuses. They're undertrained. And the fact that someone yelling, fuck Trump, which, by the way, in the country I love and live in, you're allowed to say. The fact that they would be triggered to run after him is insane. And again, as kind of funny as that story was, to see the guy get away, it looks like it belongs on Looney Tunes. It's sad to think that a man was just shot to death. And people have died in these detention centers. And the man that was shot to death was accused of dragging a police officer. And again, when the police officer body cam footage came out today, he said, yeah, minor lacerations. Well, is it worth ending somebody's life because you got a boo-boo? Is that worth it? Not in the country I want to live in. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you at least appreciate that I'm trying to show a spine here and stand up for my values, consider hitting the subscribe button. Leave us a nice 5-star review on the audio-only podcast available everywhere. We'll see you in the morning. I'm here twice a day, every day. Pop culture, politics. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.